Okay, rolling. Oh, did you hear how squeaky that was? We've got to fix that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, the people on the internet are going to complain about
It's
it.
really annoying.
Yeah,
It's only when you sit on it though.
I know, it's my fat ass. Anyway, hi guys.
Hey.
How you doing? We thought we'd sit down with you to do a few Q&As, like Q's and A's.
Mm-hmm.
A while back, we asked some of you in a post, we said, would you like to ask us any behind the scenes kind of questions? And it was specifically aimed at the people that have signed up for kind of behind the scenes, how we make our video style posts, like at that level. And we got a bunch of those. We also got a bunch of questions that are not related to how we make our videos and are just kind of like questions. So in this video, we're going to just answer all of those kind of questions, not the behind the scenes ones, and we'll put it out to everybody. And next week we'll answer all of the behind the scenes questions about how we make our videos and everything like that, and we'll post that to those of you that signed up for the behind the scenes posts, so we don't bore everyone else that isn't interested in that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Right?
So there's a few questions, let's get into it. But first of all, where's our dog? Laska.
Laska.
Come and say hello to the peeps.
I'm going to sneeze. It's me.
That was a sneeze. It sounded like a cough.
Sneeze.
Amoeba.
Oh, you can't come up here.
Where are we, Leah? Let's give some situational awareness.
We are in Jersey still, but not for much longer. We're going to be leaving to go off to Europe next week.
Literally 1 week today,
Yeah.
We are leaving Jersey, potentially for a very, very long time. We don't know when. We have no plans to come back. We are literally leaving here and heading towards Australia, as far as we know, for over multiple years, however long it takes to get there.
Yeah.
So that's quite scary because we have a lot of work to do still to get the Kombi ready to be.
There's always going to be work. I think it's going to be never-ending work, and we're never ever going to actually feel ready and prepared to go. So we just date set. We just got to go no matter how ready we are or not. Okay, so we'll start off with a question.
Yeah, you figure out a question.
Okay.
These ones are from Scotty. Scotty, you asked us loads of questions, so we're going to fire through the ones that you asked that were not about how we make videos first.
Okay, and Scotty is from Darwin. I can't wait to go to Darwin.
You ever been there?
No, I've never been.
Me neither. Definitely going to be on our Australia tour. Okay, good. Camera's still working. Having problems with our camera today. Do you have a process for deciding what stays or what goes in the van? Yes, we do. Basically, if we yeah, pretty much every 6 months or so. It's not a strict process, but like every few months before we start our next major phase of the trip, like now.
Yeah, Ben reminds me that you can't take those shoes, can't take that jacket, can't take any of those clothes, basically. Because we've got to make room for my new tools that I bought last week. That's how it goes.
I know, you wouldn't believe how heavy my toolbox is. I'm going to be purging tools as well, but basically every so often, if we haven't used it for a while, we will get rid of it. Even if it's still functional, we'll donate it to somebody else that can make better use of it. Just so that we're not accumulating crap that we just really shouldn't be carrying. Weight's an issue. We are minimalists, so yeah, that's how we do it. How much food do you store at any given point, Scotty asks? Too much?
We, when we're going off-grid, obviously, and far away from the more cheaper stores, I guess, we try to stock up so we're not going out and trying to find a shop to buy food often. So we try to do one big shop maybe once a week.
Yeah.
And fill up as much as we can, and that will last us for the whole week, sometimes more.
You'd be surprised how much food you can actually cram into one cupboard.
Yeah.
This cupboard is gives us a lot of storage space, we're finding, more than we probably need, I think, personally. And with the fridge now, we're able to take our fresh produce for longer as well. So it's really good, actually. We can take quite a bit of food. Yeah.
So yeah, usually we'll, well, if we are going off-grid for a few weeks, we'll stack this van up with food and kind of like pile it in everywhere we can, just so we can last longer off-grid.
What food would you recommend if cold storage isn't an option? Yeah, canned food.
Yeah,
pastas, rices.
Yeah, so to get our like vegetable fix, we had a lot of like canned vegetable stuff like beans and peas and carrots, which was good for us. But even there's some vegetables that last quite a while. You'd be surprised out of the fridge. Yeah, we're very experienced with that. And even like milk, when like obviously we didn't use milk because we didn't have a fridge, but we used like almond milk, and that lasted quite a while.
For a second, I thought you were going to recommend just keeping milk out of the fridge for
No.
an extended period.
But almond milk does work out of the fridge. Like, we never got sick and it was fine.
It's
and even some cheeses. We had cheese sometimes.
Yeah,
out of the
hard
fridge.
cheeses
Hard cheese.
last a little while. You can't, they're not weeks, but
yeah. So
depends on the environment you're traveling in. If it's a cooler environment, your stuff lasts a lot longer, obviously.
Yeah. So obviously we'd cook a lot of things when we didn't have the fridge, with a lot of like rice and quinoa and pasta, and just add a lot of like the canned vegetables to make a healthy meal, and it worked.
He asks also, what's good stealth food options if you can't cook rice and stuff like that. We'll generally, something we've cooked when it wasn't stealthy times, like, maybe if we think we're going to have to be stealth in the evening, we might cook extra food at lunchtime, eat leftovers in the evening. Salads, we do a lot of that. I'm always partial to a bowl of cereal at any time of the day, Scotty.
It's true.
Yeah. So stuff like that.
What else do we do? I'm trying to think. Stealth cooking.
He asked if we ensure, we're doing a lot of questions from Scotty just because you're at the top of the list, and you kind of kick-started this Q&A because you asked so many questions in one go, so get a whole video dedicated to that. But there's lots of questions from other people that we're coming on to, but just a couple more from Scotty. He says, do we insure the van and the equipment? Yes, we do insure the van because it's on American plates, and we are outside of America. We can only get kind of liability insurance, otherwise known as third party. So it doesn't really insure anything in here. Our equipment in here is not insured. It makes us extremely nervous, and we are desperately searching for some better way to insure the things that we have with us, because if we lose it, we lose everything right now.
Mainly our video and filming equipment. We want to get insured, so if anything happens to that, it's not going to cost us an arm and a leg. Or it might just be easier and to just replace it if they do get stolen or if something happens to them, because it is really hard to find insurance that was going to cover the amount of equipment that we do have. And
like worldwide insurance as well is very, very difficult. You can get travel insurance which will cover you worldwide, but often it's for short trips, and if it's for longer trips, it doesn't cover the kind of equipment that we're carrying these days in terms of like hard drives, lenses, cameras. It's difficult to get that amount of stuff insured. So I hope that helps Scotty. Paul asked a question as well. Hey Paul.
Said when, not if, you'll get a positive reaction to your latest bonding gesture. When and how will you two bring this to fruition?
Well, I did the hard work and asked you to marry me, so then maybe you can decide where we get married. That seems like fair, isn't it?
We haven't even discussed all that because it's just way beyond, like at the moment we're so focused on finishing the van and doing this big trip that it hasn't even entered our mind what we'll do. Yeah. And where we'll be and when, because that's in itself is a huge thing to organise, and because we are, away from family, like just to, plan something like that, it's going to be quite difficult. So we haven't even thought about that yet. But when we do know, we'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
It might not be for a while.
Yeah, it's just difficult. Both our families are from different parts of the planet, so that's going to be hard in itself. And our heads are kind of spinning starting this project. I think once we get on the road, I'm hoping that we get a little bit more time to breathe and we can start thinking about like that kind of thing.
Yes.
Especially in the next few months. Nathan asks, have you got a route planned yet? We did make a route plan video. We are leaving on Saturday, like I said, into France will be our first port of call. And 1 week out, we still don't exactly know where we're going to go.
Not exactly where, but the countries we'll be seeing in the 3 months that we have in Europe is going to be France, Spain and Portugal, and then into Morocco for at least 3 months.
Yes, roughly speaking, but also there's a few complicated things, even that we haven't had a chance to talk about yet. Like we might have to come back here in about 2 weeks' time to pick up another piece of equipment that's been ordered. So we'll get that. Yeah, it's just complicated. We haven't got an exact route yet. We're hoping to use the Kombi Crew route plan, like the pins on the interactive map, to kind of dictate where we go and who we meet up with and what we see. So be sure if you're in Europe to stick a pin of somewhere that you want us to come to. And if you're not in Europe and you want us to see somewhere in Europe, stick a pin for us to go there and we'll do our best to include it in the travel series.
Yeah, there are a lot of places in France that people have recommended. So we've got like all France kind of like booked with your recommendations. So we're going to be trying to go to as many of them as possible.
It's so great, isn't it?
Yeah,
like, thank you so much to all of you that have checked out that map. We wouldn't have known
about half of those things if it wasn't for you guys. So
yeah, it really does feel like an interactive adventure. I know that you can't all fit into the Kombi with us at the same time, but being able to share where we go with you guys and you guys recommending where to go is like, we're loving how this is turning out. We can't wait to actually hit the road and start documenting this stuff.
Yeah. Philip says, where is Philip? Sorry. Do you normally set up your travel plans just by what you want to do and see, or what Boomerang forces you to do? It's a bit of both. And he also says, well, what do you think? Or do you do it by what you think is better for the videos, even though it wouldn't be your own favourite destination or activity? We usually do things that we're going to be interested in because it just, if we're interested in something, then it's going to look better in when we're presenting it and when we're actually experiencing it, rather than doing something that we're just doing for the videos.
Yeah, we don't really film something that we're not interested in for the videos. However, I do think that we want to create a more of a airplane coming. We want to create more of a positive kind of message through our videos. So we're hoping to be able to, meet up with charitable organisations along the way and spread kind of like good work that we discover that other people might find interesting. So
yeah, which is what we want to do anyway. So
yeah, it is what we want to do, but like we specifically want to go and record it so that we can help spread that message to more people as well.
And you're right in saying that Boomerang and Capito forces us to go to places and do things that we probably wouldn't want to do, like be in places longer than we wanted to, or go to a specific place to get work done.
Yeah.
So Boomerang dictates where we go quite often.
Yeah, unfortunately that's just part of driving a classic vehicle around the world, and we know it, and we're happy to do that because we really don't want to just like abuse this van and run the Kombi into the ground, so we're going to be looking after him.
Philip also asks, do you approach Europe with Boomerang in a different way than Mexico, and what are you doing? And what are the defining drivers for a different approach, if any?
Do we approach Europe differently to how we say approached Mexico?
We haven't actually thought that far ahead about Europe yet.
It's only a week away.
I know it's only a week away, but I think we usually don't plan ahead too much. We kind of adapt very quickly to our surroundings and what's happening, and learn quite quickly about how we have to be in a certain country, or just how things work in different countries. So sometimes we plan, there are going to be a lot of countries where we have to think ahead and be prepare, but most of the time we kind of just wing it.
Yeah, the only time that we are really definitely planning differently is when we're figuring out whether the vehicle can go and how long it can go and how long our visa can go, and if Alaska needs any types of certification or medication to be able to visit these places. We're planning that in advance, and we didn't always do that in Mexico, but I actually think that that's more to do with us being more experienced and knowing what can happen when you don't do that. So we're a little bit more thoughtful and prepared than we have been previously, but we do still wing it quite a bit, to be honest, Philip. Okay, Moonbeam in cold Ohio. Probably not that cold right now, is it, Moonbeam?
Hi, Moonbeam. Nice to hear from you. Okay, you mentioned in the How I Blew Up 10 Engines video that you learnt how important it is to do regular maintenance on the van. How do you do that when you're on the road all the time?
Have you planned your maintenance for this trip across Europe, Asia? Do you plan it to do a lot of it yourself, or are there things you'll need help with? Probably we are going to need some help along the way. I'm pretty proficient now at everything I need to do on the Kombi. The only time I need help is when there's big things that I need a lift for, or tools that I literally can't carry in the Kombi. Everything else I do myself, mainly because I want to know it's done properly. And the only way I can guarantee that is if I've got eyes and hands on everything.
And Ben has written up a maintenance schedule, so we do, even though we are going to be on the road, a lot of that time is going to be doing work on the van.
Every fuel stop, every week, every 3,000, 6,000, 9,000, 15,000, 21,000, 30,000 and 50,000 miles, we will be doing
something.
This many things.
So, yeah, you're right. On the road, we are going to be doing maintenance pretty much all the time. Every day, you're going to be checking stuff. You know, like you said, whenever we fill up with fuel, just double check everything. Like, it will be a constant thing.
And at some point, we're going to enjoy ourselves too. I take enjoyment out of the process. It's a real challenge to get this Kombi around the world. Like people did it back in the day in the 70s and 80s when these vehicles were new. You don't see many people driving these classic air-cooled vehicles around the world. That's because they're sane and we are not.
Yes.
So it's a real challenge, but hopefully all the preparation we've done will make it possible. Hopefully.
Sure. So does Leah know more about engines and cars these days, or are you both relying on Ben's Latin American self-education? I think we've both learnt a lot.
I actually think that you know quite a lot now, and she's a very good sous mechanic, like sous chef, but sous mechanic. Like a lot of the stuff is made a lot easier by Leah knowing what to do and being able to do certain things. So yeah, we've both learned a lot, haven't we?
And we're going to continue to learn.
Probably going to open up our own Volkswagen mechanic shop when we get to wherever we decide to live.
I'm going to hate cars by the end of this trip.
Quite possibly. Okay, so Rachel says, "Oh my God, you're going to hate me." Here comes a big list of questions. We don't hate you, Rachel. We love you, and we love the fact that you help us make this travel series. So there, you can ask as many questions as you like. When you first started out by yourself, how did you deal with the disappointing times when you couldn't do as much as you thought, whether that be physical or mental? That's a very interesting question. I feel like that requires a bit of thought. Okay, so in terms of like not being able to do things physically, I don't know what you're talking about. I was able to do everything. No, in all seriousness, I didn't come across many things that I wasn't able to do physically. I did almost kill myself trying to surf in a place that I probably shouldn't have been surfing, and I was disappointed with myself at that point. It was scary, but that's about the only time that I've come up against anything where I hadn't already chickened out of it. And in terms of mentally, I've been disappointed with myself at certain points on the trip where I haven't handled certain situations better, and I've been frustrated and perhaps taken it out on people around me, or I've been irritable because I've been tired. But I've learned a lot about how to deal with all of that sort of stuff by putting myself into self-inflicted situations that tested my patience and endurance. So I like to think that I've come a long way since then. I'm not too disappointed when I fail, and I will always fail, and I will fail on this journey too, because I know that failure is an opportunity for progression and growth. And so as long as I maintain that attitude and try to continually step up and become a better person each time that I fail, I'm totally fine with it. That's how I feel about that. Number 2, how badly did we Americans butcher the Queen's English? Actually,
not as bad as Australians.
I think Americans speak pretty good English. Did you know that Americans and Canadians are actually preferred as, what's it called? Fleffel? Teaching English as a second language? TEFL. There you go, not fluffle. TEFL. Americans and Canadians are actually preferred to English people and Australians because you guys speak better English or clearer English than the Queen's English.
Really?
In it, mate.
I don't think so. I think the Queen's English is quite...
Well, yeah, but not many people speak the Queen's English, do they, darling? Now, if we could possibly move on to question number 4 from Rachel, you'll find that...
3.
Oh, okay. I was avoiding that one.
Do either of you have medical issues? If so, how does... Not really.
You don't think so?
Oh, I'd probably do, yeah. What do you mean you don't think so? Don't know yet. I have really, really, really bad, severe period pains, and I am out completely for 2 days at least every month, where it's quite intense, really, really, really intense. So that's my medical issue, and I can't really do much about it except for having really strong painkillers, and even they don't work sometimes. most of the time. So yeah, I just have to accept the fact that I'm going to be out for 2 days every single month. So that's my medical issue. Have you got any?
No, not really. But I'm sure I will get some as I get older.
You're getting older, yeah.
Yeah, I just hurt my arm trying to do the high lift jack.
Demonstration today.
Yeah, so I'm not as good as I used to be. Question number 4, how did you decide on the interior design of your Kombi? We can look at 500,000 van conversions, yet your Kombi is different from most van builds. Not just because most are sprinters, yeah. Were you creating yours in a more traditional Kombi style, or did you design thinking about your studio and its impact? Good question.
In a way, we did look at quite a lot of interiors, and at the end of the day, after all the research that we did, we kind of wanted to keep to what was designed by Volkswagen, because they did use the space quite well.
Yeah.
And we upgraded on that too by adding more stuff that we thought could have been upgraded in the Kombi.
It would have been easier to buy someone else's out-of-the-box kind of furniture for a Kombi. However, typically that's designed for weekend campers, and we needed to maximise our space and add more storage, so we just built it ourselves, which was much more labour-intensive.
But we did take a few things from Volkswagen, this really cool idea of having the table.
It looks a little high right now because we haven't got the cushions on, because the cushions are in storage because we are working on the Kombi. So we're sitting on a wooden bench right now. But yeah, as you also asked, did we change the design much during the process? No, we really tried to avoid doing that, because having a clear plan and executing it is the most efficient way to move forward with the project. I wish it had turned out like that. There was a lot of faffing around when it came to the intricate details, none of which was filmed for the series because it would have bored the pants off you. But how a hinge goes in and where fasteners go in, and to maximise space and minimise weight, there's a lot of faffing around and figuring out the individual cupboard build for each part as we came to it. But the overall kind of design concept was just a case of trying to maximise space and follow the example of Volkswagen to a certain extent. You happy with it?
I'm happy with it. I'm really happy. I think it works well.
We're thinking about making a video at some point of a bunch of things that we have or would change about our build, after say a month or two on the road, and we've already got a few things that we have changed, so stay tuned for that. I'll check the camera again. And the final question from Rachel is, what the almighty blue blazes took you so long to ask Leah to marry you? That's a good question, isn't it?
Maybe because I kept saying I never wanted to get married.
Yeah, that was discouraging.
There's probably a few times where you were trying to suss it out, going, so you want to get married? And I was like, no, I never really wanted to get married. And you're probably like, okay, back off then. Yeah. I don't know, I'm just guessing. Or maybe just because you didn't really know.
Yeah, the logistics of organising it, I always felt like we were not in a place to be able to organise it yet, and we're still really not. But I figured it was probably a good idea to at least show my intent. Thanks for your questions, Rachel. Is Alaska a good guard dog when you're camping?
No, she's not. She, not really, no.
No.
She doesn't really bark at when people approach. She might bark if there's another dog around, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's it. And that's only because she thinks that dog might come and steal her food. She's become increasingly food obsessed the older she's got, and living in a house with my mum who loves to spoil her. So you could basically just persuade her away with a banana and she'd be like, yep, I'm your best friend now, I'm coming with you. So no, not a good guard dog, unfortunately. The Kombi has always been her sanctuary as well, so even if you bang on the window, she'll literally look up and be like, go away. Nothing happens to me in the front seat of the Kombi, I'm just going to lie here. So no, not a good guard dog, but definitely good company. Very sociable. She's very good at going out and meeting people. So
if they have food on them.
Yeah. Philip, he asked about how the Chilean plates are working out beyond just bolting them on, of course. I understand if you decide to ignore this question. No, we're not ignoring it because you, Philip, and we appreciate you. They're not working out.
So we've decided that we're not going to be using the Chilean plates because we don't want to cause any trouble or bring bad attention Alaska!
She's barked, gone over, indicated that she's leaving, and is now wagging her tail and making best friends with the owner of that dog, hoping that he's got some treats, no doubt. So at least she alerts us.
Yeah, so the Chilean plates, we're not going to be using them because we don't want to raise any questions and we don't want to seem like we're breaking the law, basically, and we don't want to cause any trouble and have to have that hassle. So we will not be driving across the world with the Chilean plates.
Which at the moment means we'll be driving across the world with American plates. Don't you worry, Philip, we'll be taking the Chilean plates with us in case they're needed at some point.
Yes, especially like when we cross borders, we're going to be using the American plates. Maybe if we're in an area that's quite, we feel like the American plates are getting too much bad attention, then we'll put the Chilean plates on just for being around the country.
I think I might, well, we'll see what happens. But especially if America's at war or like trying to be at war with a certain place that we're driving through. I'm not driving this Kombi with American plates in a place where America's kicking up a fuss in their country, Iran. Okay.
Well, you can't get into Iran with American registered vehicle anyways. They won't let you in at all with an American registered vehicle. So we're thinking about registering it and importing into the UK. That's another subject.
Yes, we're trying to do that. We'll go into it if that happens.
So Susan Doyle has asked, how long do you think this road trip will take? I think it will take, who knows, 5 years, 4 years, 3 years. 3 years?
Multiple years. I think it's impossible for us to not make it multiple years, but hopefully we will be able to not make that really difficult for us by kind of spending a little longer in certain places and have like a bit of a roller coaster where we've got the hardcore travel like we've got in the next 3 months coming up in Europe, and then maybe like 3 months in Morocco where it's slower paced and we can concentrate on like editing that footage and just film a bit in Morocco. So hopefully that will make it better. If you do multiple years like Leah's saying and it's all go film edit, we would burn out so hard.
No, I'm saying probably 5 years because what Ben said, that we'll be stopping for like 4 months at a time, 6 months at a time in one place, rather than just travelling. But I can't see it being any less than 3 years. Yeah,
3 would be nice. She says most importantly, Alaska's okay. She said most importantly, do you think a single woman could travel the Pan American Highway? Absolutely I do. I've met many single women that are travelling the Pan American Highway. Certain precautions you need to take travelling as a solo female. It's definitely possible, and I think you can actually hook up with other people for certain parts of the journey to make it possible, particularly when you're entering a country that you're not that familiar with, or you might be nervous about going through that and convoying with someone else, or just the start of your trip. Doing that until you find your feet. A lot of people do that. Heading south, they'll go into Mexico with other overlanders and then suddenly realise everything's fine and then they go on their own way. Yes, you can do it as a single female. What do you think though, Leah? I
think so, yeah. Just like travelling anywhere as a single woman, as a single person, you need to have, there are precautions that you need to take. So I think it's not different for the Pan American Highway.
Susan also asked if you need a 4x4 to do that kind of journey. No, you don't need a 4x4. You might be able to go to a few extra places and you'll probably save yourself once or twice by having a 4x4, but you can always get rescued very easily and very cheaply. I mean, literally a pack of beers or like $20 as a tip for them pulling you out. So it's not a problem. And you can go in most places. Most people don't have 4x4s that live down there, and they go up and down the roads that you'll want to go up and down. So yeah, you don't need a 4x4, but
Are the roads you plan to travel in Europe better than the ones in North, Central, and South America? I don't know yet. There will be.
We don't know yet, but what do you think?
I think there will be a mixture. There'll be countries where it will be rough roads, very very rough roads, and there'll be like most of Europe will be quite good. It'll be like American roads, I'm guessing. So it'll be mixed because obviously we're going to a lot of different countries and it'll be varied, I think, with the road conditions. Yeah, and we'll be going through the quite a few mountain ranges too, so it'll be plenty hilly enough going through Europe and Asia. So I would say comparable between
the Americas and Europe, but stay tuned and we'll let you know for sure.
It's not just the road conditions, it's also drivers as well. There's going to be a lot of countries with different drivers. It's going to be, you know, hectic driving, fast driving, you know, drivers that like where the road rules don't really apply.
I'm anticipating that it's going to be worse in Europe than it was in the Americas.
Yeah, I'm actually scared of like going on the Autobahn in Germany because it's just people drive so fast. So for me, that's like a nightmare. I'd rather be on like a small dirt road than those highways. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to go on the Autobahn for like one junction. We'll be like, okay,
get off into the side streets,
and then finally pull off like at the last thing.
Oh, it makes me nervous. Okay.
Elliot asks, how long are you guys staying in the UK? How much is left out of the build, and when does the road trip begin for real? So we were basically in the UK for like a couple of months on the road. We did a month in Scotland and the UK where it rains most of the time. I think it was actually like 4 weeks. And then we came back to Jersey with the plan to film all around the Channel Islands because we really want to show you guys Jersey and everything. However, lots of stuff has gone wrong with the build, and Leah's been preoccupied with doing video edits for kind of at the end of season 2 so that we're up to date before we go off and film season 3. So we haven't really been able to do much filming here, so we don't have that much time, but we can always come back here in the future, so we will. You know, that's a great thing, is that we can record some content from Jersey some of the time, and there's some cool stuff to show you, so keen to do that. James asks, so given the added storage in the high top when driving versus the added when parking of a pop top, do you wish you'd gone the other way?
No, definitely not. I think it would have been really annoying to have to like pop the top off every time we wanted to settle for the night. It's been great to just be able to have it up all the time and have the storage there to just like grab stuff out of without having to do anything. It's
so
been
good.
Really good, especially
honestly
when we've been in the UK and it was raining every day and it was just like we were stuck in this spot. Most of the time it was really good to just be able to stand up, stretch, and have like just without having to worry about a pop top getting too wet and
having a mouldy canvas up there.
Yeah, so it's been perfect. It's been really good. I've liked it.
I just realised that Elliot in the last question asked how much is left of the build. There was quite a bit left of the build, like in terms of like changes of things that we wanted to do that didn't quite work out, like our water tank didn't quite work out like the way we wanted it to, and various fixes of like the suspension. Basically in the last couple of weeks I've had the entire front end of the Kombi apart, put it all back together. Massive job I did myself. I was very proud, but then it sat down really low and they didn't give us enough clearance on the suspension. Found out the part that we were sent wasn't really a new part, so now I've had to order new parts and I've got to rip the whole thing apart again, and then I've got to do that on Monday, and then I've got to rip the entire back end apart. Lots of stuff. And we had to order this. You guys will be the first to see this. That's our new wheel cover that will be on the back of the Kombi. So that obviously that didn't take much time, but I just wanted you guys to see it first. So there's been a few things to sort out on the Kombi for real, because we don't really want to be having to deal with all of this kind of preppy buildy stuff. We've been doing it for so long. There'll be little tweaks, but we want to keep them to little tweaks when we're on the road and focus most of our time on keeping the Kombi alive, maintenance, and see how that was number one. And
filming and
editing, traveling, like doing the travel series, like actually showing you places and meeting people and like doing all of that good stuff that we, you know, that we're really looking forward to. So yeah, that's all coming up next week. Basically we start filming for the next 3 months, which would be awesome. So we answered James' question about the high top. I agree with what Leah said, definitely high top all the way. I think the pop top looked cool, and that's the end of my thoughts of it.
Scott said, in your travels, do you rely on maps, word of mouth, or websites, apps to find places to camp or park for the night? We used to just wing it and rely on Google Maps and just be like, oh, that looks like an interesting, you know, quiet place, let's go there.
Or good old paper maps. When I was going through South America, I had the whole like side of the Kombi was just like full of paper maps from, you know, from every country, and that was fun. Like literally trading maps with other travellers. Like you're going the other way, you're like, oh, well, you got Bolivia, sweet, you know, and just like swapping maps, and it's something fun about having a paper map, you know, and it being so vague, and the scale's like, well, you know, have we gone down the wrong way? And like, I love traveling like that. There's something so much more efficient about GPS and having like Google Maps and things.
Well, I remember when we first got into America, we were still using a map, a paper map.
Yeah.
And then we realised that it's so much easier to have, like, when you first got the sat-nav, like, this is so much easier. What have we been doing this whole time?
It is so much easier. It does take away a little bit of the magic, I think.
Yeah.
But
we can still have maps in some countries. But there are some countries where it's just GPS is so much easier. But for to find camp spots, we've actually been using an app called Park 4 Night in Europe, in the UK, and that was brilliant. So we found
really good,
awesome spots, and it just took the stress away from having to like spend hours trying to look for a place. It's just like, well, we're around this area, let's go there. And they would always be quite good spots.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Honestly, it's Park with a number 4 Night. I think that's what it's called. And there are a few different apps for different places, and like iOverlander is pretty good as well. So the apps have changed the game in a good way and a bad way. I think it won't be long before basically you go to a potential parking spot like this one, and there's other people there, and how did they get there? They got there from the app.
Yeah.
You know, and so like there'll be like 10 people crammed into one car park, but if you just went down the road a little bit and did what we used to do and just stick your nose in to different little, that looks like it might have some potential, you know, you might find more privacy, I think.
But it's definitely been useful for countries and areas where it's been quite congested, where there's been a lot of people, because you don't want to, because there are very limited places compared to in South America, where you could just like easily find deserted, like quiet spots and corners to park in. So there will be countries that we'll be going to in the future where we won't be relying on any maps, but we'll be able to find places that are quite quiet and more like deserted areas where we'll just park wherever we think it's safe.
I'm probably going to pose this question to you guys in the Kombi Crew as a separate post, because this is quite far down into the Q&A, and like not everyone will get this far into the video. But I'd be quite keen to hear from you guys about what sort of stuff you'd want to see from the travel series. What are you interested in? What should we go out and capture, like in a comment? So please feel free to leave a comment below this video and let us know, because we'll definitely keep you guys in mind and try to make this travel series for us and for you. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that wraps up our Q's and A's for this video. Like I said, we've got some Q&A's for specifically the subject of behind the scenes, and that's for the people that signed up for that sort of stuff. I know not everyone's interested. It's on Patreon, it's the Nomad level, I think. Or the Kombi, I don't know. It's on the tiers. You can see which tier you're on and like what you signed up for and stuff like that. So we'll post all of those, how we make videos and how many, like what we're going to talk about just briefly, quickly.
Like editing questions about
how you store your videos, how you upload them, some recommendations for equipment, sort of stuff. How long do we film for say like 15 or 20 minute video? Philip asked how's your work-life balance, when are we planning to release videos, and all of that kind of stuff. So we'll definitely get into some of that stuff. That whole thing has been evolving. Oh, guard dog, did you hear that? It's probably a horse coming. No, she actually,
sometimes she just barks and there's nothing around. Well, not that we know of. So
yeah, she knows before we do. That's why. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, we'll get into that in a separate video, likely to be next week, I think, or later on in the month, or sometime soon. So thanks guys for your support, and more videos coming soon. There's an emergency outside, so we've got to go.
Thanks for all the questions, and we hope we answered them well. Thanks guys.
Bye.